Robin Ganzert, the CEO of American Humane, joins us now right in our studio to talk about the steps that you can take to make sure that your dogs and your cats and your horses are safe. So what do? If you have to evacuate, can you evacuate the stable?
Well, it's very important when you evacuate, take your animals with you. Especially if you have horses, you should have an emergency plan already in place.
I'm not leaving without my animal.
Thank
I want to be very clear about that. So you take your animals with you and their food and their, what else?
There's an emergency preparation kit that every pet owner should have. You should have several days of non-perishable food. You should bring bottled water. You should always have an extra collar and make sure the information on the collar is up to date with your latest cell phone number and all your contact information. And hopefully you have your pet microchipped. It's very important to have your pet microchipped.
Is that common?
It's not common enough. I think I'm in disaster zones all the time. In fact, we're just still on the ground in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. If you can imagine that, we're still on the ground after those devastating floods there.
Back into that, from
just a few weeks ago.
Oh, okay, from the flooding.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So when I think about this, we see so many pets come into shelters, no information. So we encourage everyone, make sure you have your pet microchip.
And how would you do that? Who do you call to get a microchip
your veterinarian.
put in? You call the vet.
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, and we have a dog, and our dog is chipped, and it's obviously a great invention and helps to retrieve your dog. God forbid you're separated from your pet. Going forward now, people they're in disaster relief. They're going into shelters. What if they're turned away from the shelter? Say, listen, we're going to take you, but we can't take your pet.
You know, that's where
then what?
You have to call American Humane. We will try to evacuate and find another shelter that can take you and your pet. And it's very important to find a shelter.
How do they reach you?
They can reach us through our website, certainly through our social platforms, AmericanHumane.org, our Facebook, our Twitter. Our disaster teams are on the ground right now, by the way.
In Florida?
We're actually in Florida. We're also in South Carolina. We've been working with the shelter there right in Myrtle Beach.
That's
making sure they're ready.
Now, you know, if you have one or two pets, it seems simple enough. But what if you have a lot of a stable or a farm? What do you do in those situations when you have to move a lot of animals?
You have to have an emergency preparation plan well in advance where you have your trailers identified that you can move those animals from.
Do most people have that?
You know, the larger stables do. I'm worried too many of the hobby owners don't. So we really encourage you to think far ahead. So everyone who's looking at this disaster now, if you're not in the Southeast and you're not impacted, develop your plan now. That's the most important message we can give.
Yeah, especially for people who didn't necessarily think of something like that. It's pretty complicated.
Exactly right. It's very complicated.
All right, Dr. Robin Ganzert, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Tips that animal owners need to know.
No doubt. I'm not leaving without my pet, that's for sure. We want everybody to be safe. Well, coming up, we will have more of our continuing coverage of Hurricane Matthew as it rips through Florida, forcing 1.5 million